All right, welcome. Have you ever wondered how your favorite app just knows who you are? Or how it saves your progress in a game, or shows you a feed that feels like it was made just for you? Well, that magic isn't happening on your screen. It's all happening behind the scenes. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible world of back-end development, the powerhouse you rely on every single day, even if you never see it.
So to really get a handle on this, we're going to use a pretty simple analogy that just works perfectly. Think about a restaurant. Everything you see and interact with, the tables, the menus, the decor, that's what we call the front end. But the place where all the magic really happens, where your order gets taken, cooked, and turned into something amazing, yep, that's the kitchen. And in our world, the kitchen is the back end.
So let's just lay it out, side by side. The front end is everything you see and touch on a website. It's the buttons you click, the images you scroll past, it's the dining room experience. But the back end, that's the kitchen. It's where you've got the chefs, the pantry full of ingredients, and all the secret recipes. It's the part that actually makes everything work and gives your experience some substance.
Okay, so the restaurant analogy is great, but let's get a little more technical. What is the back end really? Let's take a peek inside this invisible engine.
At its core, it's the part of an application that you, as the user, never actually see or touch directly. It's got the big jobs. It's responsible for all the heavy lifting, all the data processing, talking to other systems, and managing every piece of information that makes an app functional. And here's where it connects to what you do every day. When you create a new account somewhere, boom, the back end stores your data. When you type something into a search bar, it's the back end that retrieves and processes that information. And when an app suggests a new movie you might like, you guessed it, that's the back end delivering personalized content right to your screen.
So we know the kitchen is where the action is, but what's actually in there? What are the different stations and tools that make it all run?
Let's crack that open and take a look at the core components. It's time to open up the engine room and see exactly what makes this whole thing tick. All right, first up, the server. You can think of this as the head chef of our kitchen. It's basically a really powerful computer that is always on, just listening for orders, or as we call them, requests, from your phone or laptop. It grabs that request, does all the necessary work, and then sends that perfect dish, the response, right back out to you.
Then you've got the database. This is the kitchen's massive, perfectly organized pantry. It's where all the most important ingredients are stored for the long haul. Your username, your posts, your high scores, every single product in an online shop. Seriously, without the database, your favorite app would have the memory of a goldfish. But how does the server even know what to do when an order comes in? Well, that's where the application logic comes into play. This is the restaurant's secret recipe book. It's all the code that lays out the rules and instructions for how to handle everything, like how to check if your password is correct or how to calculate the total price of your shopping cart. And finally, the big question, how does the dining room even talk to the kitchen? Well, that's where the API comes in. Just think of the API as the waiter. The waiter takes your order from the menu, that's the front end, carries it to the kitchen, the back end, in a way the chefs can understand, and then brings the finished food all the way back to your table. It's the essential messenger that makes communication possible.
Okay, so we have all these amazing components, but who actually puts them all together? That brings us to the back-end developer, who is basically the architect of this entire invisible world.
You can think of a back-end developer as the head chef, the inventory manager, and the security guard all rolled into one. They're the ones writing the recipes or the application logic. They build and maintain the servers, databases, and APIs we just talked about. And, super importantly, they're responsible for making sure the whole system is secure, fast, and can scale up to handle millions of users at once.
So what are they actually using to build all this incredible stuff? Let's take a quick look inside a typical developer's toolkit.
So developers have a whole range of programming languages to choose from. Some of the big ones are Python, which is really popular for its clean syntax and great data tools, and JavaScript, which can actually run on the server thanks to something called Node.js. Now, to make their lives easier, they use frameworks. Think of these as starter kits. For example, Express.js is a lean and fast framework for Node.js, while Django for Python comes with almost everything you need right out of the box. To go back to our analogy, a framework is kind of like getting a pre-built kitchen. Instead of having to build every single counter and install every appliance from scratch, the framework gives you the basic structure, the plumbing, and all the safety features. This frees the developer up to focus on the creative part, the menu, the signature dishes, the unique features of their app.
All right, so we've gone through the what and the how, but now for the most important part, the why. Why does any of this invisible stuff actually matter so much? Well, because it's quite literally the foundation of the web as we know it. Now, really, just stop and think for a second. Try to imagine your digital life if, poof, the backend just vanished tomorrow. What would be left?
The answer? Well, the web would basically be empty. Without a backend, there's no way to save information. So that means no logging into accounts, no saving your game, no online shopping carts, and definitely no social media. The internet would just be a bunch of static pages that never change.
And that's because the backend is what makes all of this possible. Every single time you log in somewhere, buy a concert ticket, or even work on a shared document with your team, you're tapping into the power of the backend. It's the unsung hero that enables the dynamic, interactive web that we all use every day.
So if you take one thing away from all of this, let it be this. The backend is the engine. You don't see it, you don't really interact with it, but it's absolutely essential for making the apps you love work and, maybe most importantly, remember things.
So, let's wrap up with this thought. The backend is the unseen foundation of our entire digital world today. It's powering everything from simple websites to massive global platforms. The really exciting question is, what invisible systems are being built right now that are going to define our future?